I'm Clare Knight. I work for Essential Computing. We are a value-added reseller here in the UK, focused on the Microsoft 365 ecosystem and helping to simplify governance and hybrid workplace challenges.
Right. What does it take for business to stay truly future ready in today's tech-driven environment?
There's probably about 10 different ways to answer that question. But in my experience so far, I think it always hinges around people. Because if you've got the right team and the right willingness to try, to learn, to fail, to try again, do it better, then it doesn't really matter what the technology is, whether it's AI, it was cloud computing 10 years ago. It doesn't really matter what it is. If you've got the right people and the right culture and the right willingness to give something a try and get brave, then your organization has got a really good chance.
What is your boldest prediction for the future of your industry?
I think the boldest prediction is the answer probably isn't technology. It's figuring out how to harness it for the good. I don't think AI is the answer to everything, any more than any other bit of technology. I think that we've got some interesting times ahead, and my boldest prediction, I guess, is that it's going to come down to humans being more definitive in what they want. And what I mean by that is AI is everywhere, isn't it? It just deluge of AI, this, AI, that. And I think that makes me and the people that I work with and speak to all the time, both simultaneously excited and nervous. But we very definitely don't want AI in certain areas of our lives, in certain interactions. And I think that will become clearer, and there will be much clearer guidelines from the sort of data acts that are gathering pace, from companies' governance rules. I think there are going to be a lot clearer guidelines, and that's going to make life a lot easier for the humans implementing and living with the technology.
I had a conversation this weekend with my husband about, do we think AI is going to take over and no humans will have jobs? I don't think it's going to completely take over. I think that there's a gap between, yes, that's where a lot of investment is going into Silicon Valley and the next big, all of that is happening at the high level, but there's a disconnect between those people and those decision makers and those visionaries and investors to the people who are actually working within the technology and seeing where it really makes sense and has a place that really is valuable, and where there's actually a place where only bad things would happen, and from an economic and a humanitarian and an actual output and a supply and demand and in every different way. So
I don't think there's a business leader out there who genuinely is looking at this and thinking, brilliant, now I can get rid of the people. Like that, I just don't think that's how anyone, like humans at any level, are thinking. I think there's an excitement like, oh, brilliant, we could strip out some of the boring, repetitive, administrative tasks. Excellent. Like, no one wants to be doing that. I'm all for AI in that. But I don't think there are. Maybe I'm just a bit naive, but I
could be wrong.
I just, even in like huge software developers, I don't think they're thinking, brilliant, let's replace all of our brilliant engineers. I think it's just it's sort of tweaking the tasks that they might be doing. And talking to a colleague this week, we've been working with Copilot a bit more, Copilot Studio and agents, just internally, just playing to see what it's all about, to get rid of some of the fear, being brave and trying to step into it. And a colleague of mine who hadn't had much involvement before has been playing with Copilot Studio and getting some good results, playing with some other AI tools as well. And he said, oh, I'm not doing less work, it's just different, it's creative, I'm creating something, I'm iterating something in a different way. I know how to code, I don't need to do that. And we talked about, oh, have you spent less time working? And he's like, no, No, I'm iterating prompts. I'm overseeing the output. It sort of shifted it a bit like the Industrial Revolution. Like we didn't need
Yes.
to do everything by hand in the same way, but everyone has remained productive and busy and involved. It's just different stuff. So it's going to take some time for that to land and for all the fear mongering to sort of calm down.
For the dust to settle.
Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. What trends or shifts in the tech services space do you think that leaders are still underestimating?
I think the time it takes to adopt new stuff, and to see the value from that is always underestimated. And I'm not just talking AI. I'm like, there are huge swathes of Microsoft 365 that are still not used or explored, or the value gotten out of. Like we only have so much time in the day, so I think there's we quite often are working with organizations who have enthusiasm and have a problem to solve, and they're looking for the right solution, and then we spend a lot of time talking to them about how we can solve that, and then whatever solution they choose, whether it's with us or someone else, it goes in. And then there's always that just really long protracted period where it's really hard to quantify the value, because the time taken to adopt the new solution, however good it is, however much it's going to be the answer, spoiler alert, it's never the whole answer. It's the time, the energy, the learning and experience that's needed to wrap around the technology to make it do the thing it's meant to do.
What are 3 things you recommend your clients to consider when evaluating their SaaS purchases?
Include as many stakeholders as you can without it being unwieldy. When you're talking about SaaS, you're often thinking it's an IT product, but there's often a HR team or a workplace experience team or a department managers that might need to be involved and looked in for the thing to work, for the technology to work. So get buy-in, speak to the people who will be impacted, and cover that off early, and then you might get your procurement over the line if you don't, but you might struggle a lot more to get the deployment successfully completed and really see the value. Number 2 is plan for 3 years. I'm not just saying that because I want to sell 36-month subscriptions. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, it typically can take up to a year for that sort of bedding in, deployment, real value to be seen, to then cascade that back to the business and say, look what we did, look at the benefits. And then that's sort of then going into year 2, you're building on that, learning from all that. Year 3, it's quite typical to see personnel changes and to reinforce that, to relearn, to tweak things and change things. So we always say try and think of it as a 3-year, because the cost of doing 12 months and then ripping and replacing, you haven't really got going yet. And lastly, check your exit strategy. It's probably not a popular thing to say. It's definitely not something salespeople like to talk about. But the nature of things being what they are, you want to know that if your data is going to be stored by another vendor, you want to know where it is and how you're going to get it back, because sadly things change. So,
What's something about leading in tech that nobody tells you?
but it's trying to land a helicopter in a storm with a blindfold on. It changes every 10 minutes. And there is no getting on top of that. So you just have to accept that everything's going to change every 10 minutes and try and find a place of steadiness in that, in your team, in your company, whatever your position is. Just, find your own stability, because the external influences are constantly and ever changing.
You started in sales and are now commercial director, so congratulations.
Yep. Thank you.
What were some of the pivotal moments, honestly, that shaped how you lead today?
Oh God, there've been some big ones. I think a really big one early on in my career at Essential. about 2009, and Essential was a huge reseller and partner for a big archiving vendor. They were bought out through an acquisition, and we ended up as a partner of an organization that I don't think valued us or wanted us as a partner. But I would say 85% of our business at that time was reselling this archiving solution. And they ditched us overnight by fax, because that still existed in 2009. And it was a shock, like right through the core of the company. The company had to fundamentally restructure, and we had a very hairy couple of years trying to figure out who we were going to be and what we were going to do and what value we could add with our main stream of business effectively cut off. So we learned a lot, and that to this day, I still think we mustn't put all our eggs in one basket. It really shaped the kind of people and partners and vendors that I want to work with and everyone else in the business. So we get a real gut feel now, and we think, do we like these people? Can we trust them? Are we going to do good things together? Before that, I don't think I would have felt that was a signal I could make a decision based on, but having lived through the impact of working with people that we were not at all aligned with, really changed how I see the world and my corner of the world. The second thing was moving from being a salesperson to a sales manager. I thought, great, more money. Now I get to tell people what to do. Wrong. So partly right, partly wrong. I made all of the mistakes learning from scratch. I've always had really great managers who have been really great examples, but I still managed to flounder around, and I probably tried to micromanage. I tried to control all the things, and I learned the hard way that that's not that's not good.
Spoiler
I
alert, that's not it.
I shaped how I lead by getting it all wrong before getting it right, and I'm very grateful that everyone put up with me and still does to this day. And I think probably in latter years, motherhood has hugely shaped me as a person, but also how I lead in the business. It's like two different people. I think you becoming a parent changes you fundamentally. For me, I have a lot more empathy for what's going on with people inside and outside of work. I think I was probably a bit two-dimensional in my 20s and 30s, sort of like, well, come on, why can't we just get this done? And so motherhood, I think, has had hopefully an improving effect, apart from the eye bags and the tiredness. I have more empathy, more patience, more tolerance, and more understanding that it will get done eventually, and it might not be perfect.
After 22 years with Essential, you've seen multiple eras, we'll call them, of the company. What are the biggest shifts that you've witnessed in the Microsoft ecosystem and the partner landscape?
That's a good one. We were talking about this in the office just yesterday, about how we feel like a bunch of us have been with the company 20 odd years, and we were ruminating on why. And it's because everything fundamentally shifts every 5 years or so, and so it feels like we've done many jobs at many different companies. The move to SaaS, because when I joined the company, everything was on premises with support contracts. So moving to SaaS fundamentally changed, what we do, how we do it, how we contract, where data's stored, the concerns that customer have. So we had to relearn our own business model and rewrite it. And as a partner, when you're not in control of everything, that's an even more interesting change. 5 years ago, the move to Microsoft 365 and Teams accelerated dramatically. And so for us, and we're a services, part of what we do is deliver services to customers before Teams, before video, let alone the technology that we sell and that we help people with. we were going out on trains and getting in the car and going off to see customers and doing consultancy at their sites. And then overnight that changed to fully remote, pretty much fully remote. We still get really excited when we get to go out on site and meet people or go to events. So that's sort of shifted the how. And then obviously more recently, AI is really changing the work that is happening, the priorities of the companies that we're working with, and then how that's being delivered as well, I think is going to change more and more. So, I mean, there's probably about 20 shifts, but those are the three big ones that stand out.
Amazing. You call your team the professional middleman. What value does that role bring that organizations maybe are underestimating?
I think for me the biggest one that we've seen over and over again is that we're a valuable buffer between, well, within a customer's organization themselves. So larger organizations quite often have very siloed departments, and when we talked about multiple stakeholders, often we are working with IT, but there are other stakeholders where decisions need to be made. So we act as a consolidating factor, as a buffer to pull everyone together, get them around the table. We can ask the uncomfortable, awkward questions that we need to maybe get something over a line or to get a decision made, and we can act as a glue. And that's at sort of the beginning stage, but that can go on throughout the life cycle. Because we're smaller and we have fewer customers proportionally than a vendor who might have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, our customer base is our customer base. So we've got the time and energy to get close to them and to act like a conduit between the customer and the vendor. So, vendors have a one-to-many. They need to make the best decisions they can to get a software platform doing the most optimal job. Customers have many things they would like to change or request or whatever. So we can act like a buffer and either help the customer figure out how they can work around, how we can creatively troubleshoot or find another way to get the thing that they need, or to give them the time and energy they need to get something fixed or moving in the way that they want to. So yeah, we've just got that bit of flexibility, I guess, in how we can do things, which I hope is valuable to the vendors that we work with as well as the customers.
You've said that your goal is for customers to come back and ask, what's next? What has to be true about their experience with you in order for that to happen?
I think they need to trust us, because you only go back when you trust. And that's from my own personal experiences as a consumer of any service. Trust has to be earned. So it's earned over time and it's earned over experience. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is that when a customer either ends their engagement with us, which I hope they never do, or needs to solve another problem, that they would think, oh, I'll ask those people that I trust because they've had my back.
You often talk about being an inch wide and a mile deep. Why is deep specialization, especially around unstructured data and governance, so critical, especially right now?
Oh, because we are living through a tidal wave of information creation. There's like a tsunami coming at us on a daily basis. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we were working with organizations in migration and email archiving and the old days of Exchange, data governance was something people talked about, but didn't really do. They just sort of put some retention policies in place and shifted things around. And that was great while it worked. But now you've got, there's so much. From AI, cyber risk, cybersecurity, data leaks, GDPR, reputational damage. There's just so many reasons to get your house in order, and to get your house in order, you need to know your organization and your company and your policies. So that's a full-time job just in of itself. So then knowing what tools to use and how to use them, like, you need people with deep specialization, either internally or externally, to help navigate that sort of navigate the policies and the requirements with the technology to get the output you need.
That actually mirrors really closely some advice that I got from one of my managers and mentors early on, actually at SnapOn, and she always talked about T-shaped people who are able to, like, you know, broaden and diversify as new things come up, to understand how things connect to each other, etc. But you have to be able to drill down, especially if it's your area of expertise. You need to be the subject matter expert. You need to be able to drill down to such a granular level, or nothing notable will be accomplished after anything that you're doing. So very similar, I think, kind of mentality.
I've not heard of that T-shaped description. I'm going to use that. That's really useful. There are a lot. It's very easy to be a generalist.
Yes.
And to skate across the surface, and then that can be really useful. But when it comes to data governance, it's too important. Like the risks are too great, the costs, the potential costs are too great, whether it's data storage or reputational damage from a leak or whatever. It's you can't mess around with that. You need to go in and know what to do and where to go.
Yeah. How is AI changing the urgency around data cleanup and governance?
Well, I think AI is the urgency in lots of ways. It's gonna, like, doing a data governance project is hard work. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot involved, and it's change quite often. If you're going to be really effective with governance, you want to be able to identify data owners and bring other people in. It's not an IT job alone; it's a business job. That's challenging but doable with a plan and the right tools and the right expertise. So great. But doing that after you've put AI in, I imagine, is very, very, very challenging. It's like shutting the door after the horse has bolted. The urgency is there because the timescales are coming ever and ever closer as the pressures there was always shadow IT. There's no shadow AI, isn't there? There's people using AI anyway, whether you've got a policy or not. So that the urgency is to get going sooner rather than later and tidy your data up.
Yeah. What mistakes do companies make when they think migration alone will solve their data problems?
Oh, well, they think that migration alone will solve their data problems. We've got a long history in data migration, among other things. It's one of our specialist skills. We've moved 100 petabytes of data for organizations, quite often because there's a pressing urgent need. Data center shift or merger or acquisition or disposition quite often drives, so there's a very urgent time scale. And we always ask you, is there a way we can reduce this? Because the best way to do it in a short time scale is to move less data. And we're quite often, the answer is, well, no, we'll shift it and we'll worry about it later because we haven't got time. We'll just shift it all and we'll worry about it. We'll sort it out later. And later hasn't yet come for a lot of those organizations. So it doesn't solve the problem. It kicks the can down the road, and it might shift it. It might solve part of the problem. It might shift it from this really expensive place to a slightly less expensive place over here, and takes it out of this vendor's remit and puts it into our own data center or whatever. So it partially solves the problem, but migration isn't the answer. It's just making it easier to manage. You still have to sort it out, still have to clean through it and get rid of the rot, and ideally get those retention policies that have been previously agreed, get them implemented, age out the data, and get some solid plans in there to categorize, classify, and get rid of the stuff you don't need.
Essential has many long-standing team members. What do you think makes that kind of longevity possible?
This is a really tricky one to answer. When I think about my own experience, it is rooted in trust. The trust that the business has always had in me, and the leaders before me, and the trust that I have in them. And that's, I think for all of us, that's built through time and experience, not being micromanaged. We all have autonomy, and we all are given autonomy in our roles. So that goes a long way to making you feel like you want to turn up and do your best every day. But having the right combination of people helps. We take recruitment recruitment is a big deal. We take it really seriously. It's really hard. We're a small team, so bringing somebody in is something that we take massively seriously, because we've learned from experience that when we get it wrong, everyone's affected. So yeah, it's not something that if I could, you're going to take it and move it to another business, I wouldn't know how to do that. I think for the Essential team, we've just been very, very lucky that the people that started and founded the business had a very flexible, trusting, kind attitude. And I do think kindness goes a long way in business, and it's not talked about enough, really.
Oh, couldn't agree more. And it comes from the top down, right? If as you said, the owners and the founders weren't those people, then you can try as hard as you want for you and your team to rally and create a good environment, but it would be ingenuine, and it wouldn't go as deep as it otherwise could to create multiple people there over 20 years. That's notable. How do you create trust and synergy between the people facing the customer teams and then the delivery work behind the scenes?
Well, we're not normal. Pretty much everyone in the business is customer facing. So we don't, we're a reseller, so we don't have a development team as such. We're not coding. There aren't a load of back office folks. Pretty much everyone in the business has some degree of customer interaction. So and the customer experience is like it's our guiding light, our North Star, because we're a small organization. We live and die by whether customers choose us and repeatedly choose us, whether they choose us over some other organization that's touting for their business. So you can say all you like till you're blue in the face. We're the best at this. We could do a really good job, but it's only in the doing of it that it's proven. So our best chance is doing a really good job and holding on to customers, and everyone in the business fundamentally knows and understands it and lives it and breathes it every day. Like we talk about it all the time.
Customer success sits at the heart of everything that you do. How do you embed that mindset across sales, marketing, delivery, etc.?
We talk about it all the time. I think we're all really sensitive to bad experience, because we've all of us in the company have, in work and out of work, have experienced what it's like to have bad service and to work with organizations that don't value your business. So, and that is a value to us, Essential, that's really important, is that's not us. So we talk about it all the time. And we are constantly thinking through, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to make it better? How can we make this easier to adopt, easier to manage? How can we take this information and translate it in a way that's going to make sense and is going to land? So there's that. And as I've said before, we're a small business, so we're not driven by a shareholder mentality of must achieve results quarter by quarter. Obviously, we need to do enough and keep going. But I've always seen it as our superpower, that we're sort of flexible and independent, so we can make the right call, and we have a bit of latitude in our decision making to do the right thing.
For someone building a career in partnerships and customer success today, what's the mindset that you think matters most?
An open mindset, a willingness to listen, to really listen and to take feedback. I think is probably the main thing, because partnership is about give and take. It's about compromise. And if you're going to find a compromise, you have to really go deep to understand what a win looks like for the person on the other side of the conversation on the table.
What's one lesson from 20 plus years in the partner space that newer leaders should learn sooner?
Focus on the relationships. Like, relationships are everything, and I mean, it's this, the clues in the name partnership. It's an agreement between two people or two organizations. So if you're a partner manager, get to know your partners and spending that time with them, understanding their business and how it ticks, understand your business. And then, the most successful partnerships that we've had as Essential, I'm really pleased to say that we still are in business with most of them today. The long-standing ones are where we have really high trust between us and our partners, and that has come from them taking the time to work through challenges with us, to listen, to support us in those difficult early stages when you're all getting to know each other and it's all you're a bit new, and your first project might be a bit challenging, or all the learning's all happening. But if you can, like, the relationships that are built at that point stand you in good stead. It's like growing a garden. You sow the seeds, but you have to sort of water everything and nurture it a little bit. But then once it gets going and it's growing, then it's more resilient. The relationship is more resilient and more fruitful over the long run.
Have your priorities as a leader changed over time? And if so, how?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, we've already talked about the sort of moments that have shaped me. I think that I worry about people more now, because as an organization, our people are our biggest asset. And the knowledge that they hold and the experience that they bring to the table and their willingness to go out every day and try and do their best for customers and do the best for us. If we don't have the goodwill and the energy of our team and our people, then we don't have a huge amount. And that is really hard to recreate, and it's really hard to find. So yes, that feels like the most precious asset that we have as a company. And I have realized that more and more as time's gone by. So yeah, my priorities are definitely more towards making sure people don't burn out and break. And the modern world doesn't lend itself to really strong and robust mental health a lot of the time. So yeah.
What do you pay attention to when you're developing future leaders, especially those who may not naturally put themselves forward?
I didn't know that I pay attention to things, but I think I thinking back on my own experience and my journey through the company, I realize now that I'm looking for people who take ownership quietly or loudly, but people who take ownership of the area that they're in, the challenges that they see, and don't just kind of go, we've got a problem over here. They kind of go, right, I've got this problem, and I've been thinking about it, and I think this is the way we should tackle it. It's the people that kind of go, I've got a problem and a thought for how we can move that forward. There's leadership in that, and it took me a while to realize that's what it is taking ownership of the direction of travel, and not just waiting for someone else to come along and go, oh, thanks for identifying the problem, I'll fix it for you now. People that are willing to make mistakes and not cover them up, but to kind of go, oh, we've made a mistake, help, or I've made a mistake but I fixed it, or this is what I've learned from it. So, and that is, you do need a bit of psychological safety, as they say, in the workplace to have that kind of environment. But the people that are willing to just forge forward and make mistakes and keep moving, and tackling issues head on, not necessarily blunt force trauma, but tackling issues when they come up rather than thinking, oh, just, smooth that over and cover it up and not address it in the moment. It's just so, I've just learned looking for people who just say, I saw this, it's not right. I think we should do something about it, because problems are so much harder when they fester over a long period of time, whether it's a people problem or a process problem. I think it's the people that identify it and want and take action or propose an action that are the future leaders.